Today I'd like to talk about the difference between achievement and success, because there really is a difference between these two things, and when we understand that difference, we can use that understanding to create a fulfilling and meaningful and joyful life instead of just an empty shell of a life. So, achievement simply means accomplishing a goal. And that's great. That's a really awesome thing. It's important to set goals and to accomplish them. We want to accomplish great things in life. But success is living in accordance with what matters most. And both achievement and success are important. But the problem is that sometimes people think they're pursuing success. They think they're creating a life that will be happy and meaningful and fulfilling, but they're not. They're only pursuing achievement. And when we have achievement without success, that is not a fulfilling life. It's an empty life. But a successful life ultimately is made up of many achievements along the way. We set goals and we pursue them and we hit them, or if we fail to hit them, we learn from that and we do better. So achievement is a truly important part of a successful life, but achievement on its own is not a successful life. Stephen Covey, in his book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, says some people achieve the top of the ladder and only then realize it was standing against the wrong wall. So people pursue goals that they think are making them happy, and they live their life in a way that they think will lead to happiness. But then ultimately, when they get to the top of that ladder, they realize that they don't feel happy. They feel empty. And everything that they were doing to get to that point was empty. It was leading them somewhere where they actually didn't want to be going in the first place. They didn't realize that they didn't want to be going there, but they didn't want to be going there in the first place, because ultimately what each and every one of us wants is we want joy. We want fulfillment. And sometimes we seek that in the wrong way. And usually, the thing that keeps us from having a successful life isn't necessarily negative things like crime or drugs, things like that. Usually, it's positive things that we focus on too much. So, a lot of times we pursue high levels of success in our career, in our sport, in our performing art, in whatever it is that we do in that one area of our life. And that's so important. To perform at high levels in that area of our life is so important. But the problem is that sometimes people focus so much on achievement in a certain area of their life that they neglect everything else. And when they do that, that means their ladder is against the wrong wall, because that wall is just achievement in this one area and it has nothing else for them. So they get there to the top of that ladder and they feel unfulfilled. So successful living, truly having success in life, is about value-based living. So let's talk about values. How do we base our life on values? Well, in order to do that, we have to understand what values are. So there's different types of values. There's priority values and there's principal values. So priority values are simply the areas of your life that are important to you. The areas of your life that you need to pay attention to and give time and energy to in order to create a full and complete life. So for example, it can be things like family, friends, work, health, etc. Things like that. Areas of your life that you need to pay attention to in order to be fulfilled and complete. And then principal values are guiding principles that you want to live by in your life. They're principles that you want to use to guide the goals that you set and to guide your actions. And there are infinite possibilities when it comes to principle values. But for example, they could be things like respect or diligence, integrity, adventure, courage, cheerfulness, compassion. The list truly could go on. And I'll actually include a link in the description to a worksheet that you can use to help you identify some principal values that may be most important to you. And this worksheet was developed by the author of The Confidence Gap and The Happiness Trap. He has some really good stuff. His name is Russ Harris. Anyways, so priority values and principle values, and it's important that we focus on both. My advice is to first identify your priority values. Which areas of my life are important to me? What do I need to give attention to in order to create a well-rounded life? And then go into principle values. What principles do I want to use to guide my actions and my behaviors and my attitudes in everything that I do? And I would say identify your top 3 to 5. And that doesn't mean that all the other potential principal values are not important to you. It just means that we have limited room for focus in our conscious minds. So we can only have about 3 to 5 at our forefront of our focus. And those don't have to be set in stone. Those can change. You can revisit those and substitute some out or eliminate some. But make sure that you have 3 to 5 that you're focusing on and using those principles to guide your actions. One thing I'd like to give you that can help you to identify your priority values and your principle values is an exercise called the deathbed exercise. So what you do is you envision that you have lived a long life and you're on your deathbed, you're dying of something related to old age, and you know that you're going to go in the next couple of hours. First, do this exercise as though you lived a life that you regret. So think, as you're lying there on your deathbed, reflect on the life that you've lived. And you can ask questions like, what were your highest priorities? And what were your lowest priorities? How did you spend your time? What were your relationships like? What was your attitude like? What goals did you pursue? What risks did you take or not take? And again, do this first with a regretful life, one that you don't feel fulfilled by, one that you don't feel good about, and go through and actually see this life as though they are real memories. And then do the same thing, but with a life that you feel proud of, a life that you feel happy about. Go through and reflect on that life as though these are real memories. Again, using these questions, what were your highest priorities? What were your lowest priorities? How did you spend your time? What were your relationships like? What was your attitude like? What goals did you pursue? What risks did you take or not take? And these are just my questions that I'm giving you. You can use any questions, think about any prompts to think about what was this life like. Do that for that regretful life and the proud life, a life that you truly are proud of. And then, again, put yourself in this moment where you truly are on your deathbed and think about, in the regretful life, who's around me right now? And how do these people feel about me? And then in the proud life, who's around me right now in my final moments? And how do they feel about me? As you go through this exercise, it can be so helpful because when we're just going about our daily life, certain things that may not actually lead to true happiness and fulfillment can feel very, very important to us. And we can think that they are leading to happiness. But when we do this exercise, when we envision that we're laying on our deathbed, so many of those things stop mattering so much. And it helps us to recognize what is really going to matter in the long run when all is said and done. As you do that, you can figure out what is most important to you. And when you figure out what's most important to you and then begin shaping your life in accordance with that, that is how you live a successful life instead of just an achieving life that may feel empty. Thank you so much for listening today. I truly appreciate it. Please make sure to share this podcast with 3 friends so that they can benefit from it too. And let's go be high performing today.